This is Komets Corner.
Well, I don't know if he invited you, Shane, but Icy was at the Cavs game.
What is that noise?
On Sunday.
No.
Yeah, you guys had a rare Sunday off. He did not make the road trip with you. He went by himself to go to the Cavs game, hanging out in Cleveland, and that is one of the highlights of the week because unfortunately it didn't go as well on the ice as we would have liked. He is Shane Albahrani, the voice of the Komets. I'm Glenn Marini. This is Komets Corner, brought to you, as always, by our good friends at Lee's Famous Recipe. And before we dive into any of the games, Shane, obviously it's been a weird last month when it comes to the strike that loomed, knocked out 3 games over the holidays. And then the Komets have now lost 5 in a row, but 4 of those have been in overtime. So some of that you can attribute to bad luck. But it feels weird to be doing this show and the Komets not being in first place. We'll talk more about that in a second. But when you take a look at those overtime games, 6 overtime losses this season, that's the most in the Western Conference. The second most is 3. It's huge.
Yeah.
Well, what's the key there? What's happening?
Well, actually, it's most in the league now. I mean, 6 overtime losses. It's heartbreaking, but you look at the bright side that you do get a point out of those games. But the hard thing to take is that you had the lead late in a few of those, and you gave up a goal in the final minute, final seconds, and then you lose in overtime. So, again, the takeaway is you got points. I remember a few years ago, I think it was before COVID, where we had a stretch where I think we lost 9 games, but 7 of them were overtime. So we got 7 points, and that saved our season. It saved us from let us get into the playoffs. So, you'll look back at this, when you're back winning again, and some teams are going to be on the downswing, and you're like, hey, you know what? We got points in those games. So there's ebbs and flows in every season, and right now we are on a bit of a downswing, I'd say, but not really, because, again, you're getting points. I said last week, the Komets are playing 59 minutes or 58 minutes instead of 60. I think we've closed that gap. It's now 59 minutes. But
yeah, it was 59 and change against the Mavericks. But when you take a look at this past week, how do you use this going forward? And where is this team right now mentally? Because this is a team that is not used. They've played basically in first place for the entirety of the season. How do you bounce back? How do you make sure that this doesn't spiral into something more than just a couple of games where maybe the puck doesn't go your way? And, like we said, 4 overtime losses in this 5-game losing streak.
It's going to happen. With this league, it is so unpredictable. Again, teams will get strong when other teams are weakened by injury and call-up. It's that way. And right now, we're being hurt a little bit with injuries and call-up. But this coaching staff and David Franke, they're always looking for ways to improve the team. And bringing in Matt Barrie, I think, was just kind of a shocker to whoever. It was a shocker to me when I learned that he was coming to town. And this is a guy who's played over 270 games in the ECHL, and he's a point per game play, actually more than a point per game. That is crazy to get a guy of that caliber into this lineup, and you really need him because Jaden Grube, we don't know if he's going to be coming back from injury. You lost Jack Gorniak in training camp. You lost Dylan Hamiluk in the second game of the season. Matt Miller is still on the shelf. You got guys up in the AHL, so to get that guy, that kind of caliber guy, is huge. So, if you're a fan, you're kind of thinking, oh, this team is not doing what they're supposed to be doing. Yes, they are. Getting a guy like Matt Barrie is incredible. At this point in the season to get him to come over from overseas. He got his first 2 games in Kansas City. Here's a guy who flew all the way from Scotland to Kansas City, met us there, and played that night. Crazy, and that just shows you how crazy this league can be when you have guys like that and they're expected to play. So, we're doing everything we can to get this team back where it needs to be.
Okay, we're going to talk about those 2 KC games in depth coming up in just a little bit, but I want to rewind all the way back to New Year's Eve, because Komets fans certainly glad hockey was back. I know you were glad hockey was. What are you going to do with yourself over the holidays without Komets hockey?
Yeah, right. Spend it with family? What is that?
It's ridiculous. You want to be at the rink, maybe with the family, on a Wednesday night. This has become a tradition for the Komets. How excited were you? And this was a crowd with just over 10,000 people on a Wednesday night as they took on the Bloomington Bison here at the Coliseum. What was the atmosphere like? Because not only were fans happy to be out for New Year's, as they typically are, but also to have Komets hockey back and playing as the ECHL resumed play on
Oh, it's
Wednesday.
wonderful. You get 10,000 people in the building, it's always a happy night. So, it just goes to show, win or lose, Comet fans are going to show up, and they have been all season. This has been a crazy year, considering we didn't have a home game until the end of November, and then we had a little bit of a stop in action, if you will, and then you had a Wednesday night holiday game, and everyone showed up, and that was fantastic. For some reason, over almost the course of a decade, the Komets have had a real problem showing up for this game, so it's not just this team. I think the Komets have lost 3 or 4 straight on New Year's Eve, so I don't know what that's all about, but it was a good game. We got the lead early, but unable to hold it. We go back to, you got to play 60 minutes, and we didn't do it that night against a hungry Bloomington team, and they are still hungry. Now, they are kind of our competition here if we fall back in second place, and we're going to see Bloomington a lot here, especially we're going to play them 2 games, I think, in 2 weeks. So, it's just preview.
Yeah, you see Alex Albahrani with his 11th goal. That was in the first period to make it 1-0, and then Stonehouse with a goal in the second period to give the Komets a 2-1 lead. You had to be feeling pretty good if you're the Komets, because we both wondered on last week's show, how did this strike and how did those missed games affect the locker room, and the Komets looked fairly cohesive coming out of that break.
Yeah, I think everyone's on the same page. I think, they're the deal was done. Let's move on. I think we're all in that mindset. And Alex Albahrani had been a huge slump. He had not scored a goal in the month of December. So to get the first goal of the month on New Year's Eve was big for him. And he's a guy who's arguably it's your best player, all-around player, but he's a guy who is a bit streaky when it comes to goal scoring.
Yeah, we saw that last year.
So that's one thing the Komets are kind of lacking. You see that the goal scoring is spread out. I think all week. I don't think we had a multiple goal scorer, so everyone was kind of scoring goals, but you don't have that go-to guy. There's not the Jack Dugan out there, a guy who's going to...
I was going to say that name.
Yeah, who's going to be a guy who, it's like, hey, put me on your, I'm going to hop on my back, boys, and I'm going to take you to the promised land here. So, Alex Albahrani can be that guy, but just a little more consistency with him scoring goals, I think would be a huge help.
As you mentioned, you got to play 60 minutes. This is the section of the game where things kind of fell apart for the Komets when you take a look at the end of the second period, giving up 2 goals in about 40 seconds and then giving up a goal just over a minute into the third period. That's 3 goals in less than 2 minutes, and that was kind of the story in this one. If you're the Komets, how do you put your, I don't want to say skate on their neck, if you will, to make sure that this doesn't happen? Because it wasn't necessarily closing out the game, but it wasn't what you wanted to see, especially in front of 10,000 fans on a Wednesday night.
We had a game like that against Kalamazoo before the break, where and with Kansas City.
I mean, it's just this one stretch.
Yeah, one, and it's you can't even say we had a bad period or a bad half a period. It's literally a minute, 2 minutes, so it's kind of crazy when you look at, the time that's on the clock when the teams are scoring the goals at the end of a period or even to start a period. And, I think a lot of it just comes down to you got to just look yourself in the mirror. It goes down to your leadership on the ice. And, this team just kind of lacks that killer instinct. I've said it a couple times that's one thing they need. They need to remember where the gas pedal is throughout the game. So, you're going to have adversity throughout the game, but, you have to work through it. You got to work through everything. That's where I look at, the Alex Albahrani's and the Jalen Schmericks and the Zach Jordans and all these guys who have been around and know what it takes to win. So it's just, you just got to look at the guy next to you on the bench and say, hey, we got to take care of business here.
So you're glad hockey was back that Wednesday night. I was glad hockey was back, so we had something good to talk about. Certainly the fans were happy that hockey was back at the Coliseum on Wednesday night, and we had a chance to chat with some fans out at the Coliseum for that New Year's Eve game, and here's what they had to say about being back in the jungle.
I'm really happy. I've been supporting them for 6 years now, and I really thought that they wouldn't play again today until my dad told me, because they signed an agreement and they all said yes, so I'm really happy about that. It's a tradition for us to come to games on New Year's Eve and every game. It makes me happy because I get to spend time with my family and I can watch them play. And I love fights for some reason. I don't know why, but I do.
Yeah, I mean, we're excited. We really like it. We really like games. They're super fun. And so it was a good time.
Is this the New Year's tradition for you guys?
Yeah, I mean, this is me and my boyfriend's second time coming to the game together. He's
He's a nice
hiding
guy.
behind the camera.
He's a nice guy.
Yeah, he's a nice guy.
Yeah.
Why is this such a fun tradition for you guys?
I mean, it's just super fun. You know, it's sold out 90% of the time. All of Fort Wayne's out here ready to party. It's always fun.
Great. Glad they're playing.
awesome. Yeah, I heard they might not play for this game.
Yes, I was really glad they ended the strike.
Do you come every New Year's Eve?
I come practically every game.
That's awesome to hear. What do you like about Komets games?
The action.
Yeah? What kind of action do you see?
Oh, it's a fast-paced game. You don't get a faster game on ice than hockey.
Is this a family tradition?
It is. This is
Yeah.
our third year coming, and we love coming. I've been looking forward to coming to this all year, actually, so we're really excited.
Why is it such a good family tradition for you guys?
We have such a great time watching them, being surrounded by lots of other families, and just having time together, and we love the excitement.
All right, you guys want to shout like a Go Komets on 1,
Yeah.
2, 3?
3,
Alright,
2, 1.
Go Komets! Woo!
All right, so I'm with Lily. I like the fights too. But when you take a look at just the juice of a New Year's Eve game, being back from the strike, 10,000 people. I mean, just a cool night overall to have hockey back in the Summit City.
Yeah, I mean, we've been playing New Year's Eve, since the 50s. It's another one of those traditions, just like Thanksgiving. And I know people who their only games they go to are Thanksgiving and New Year's. So it's a Fort Wayne tradition. It's a tradition that no other team in hockey really has, and we have a lot of those, and it's just something that really should be celebrated. We've been playing hockey for 74 years. Next year's going to be our 75th anniversary, and we've got all kinds of really cool stuff already planned for that. And it's just great that the community still supports the Fort Wayne Komets, because there's a reason why we have been in business for this many years. What other team can say that other than Hershey?
I was going to say just the Bears. That's
the Bears and the original 6 in the NHL, so it's really special. People kind of, I go to other buildings. Just in Kansas City, someone was talking to me like, how many years the Komets have been, they're like legendary because they've never been without a team and they've always been the Komets. I'm like, yeah, it's really special, and I hope everyone appreciates that everything that we do and everything that goes into what we do to have people still coming back to the Coliseum.
I think it's funny because you forget how long the Frankies have owned it. It's like, oh yeah, they bought him brought the team as the other team left and kept him here, and you're just like, oh, it hasn't been that long, and you're like, ooh, actually, it's been a minute. It's been
36 years.
Yeah, 36 years.
Yeah.
Wow, it goes by in a hurry. You mentioned Kansas City. Going to Kansas City, that is what the Komets did on Friday night and on Saturday night. Let's take a look about the action on Friday night as the K's went to take on a Mavericks team that's having a really good season. They are tough. They're atop the Western Conference standings as we speak. So not only division standings, but conference standings as well. So what is it about this Kansas City team that makes a good challenge for these Komets as you take a look at, Harrison Reese would score an early goal for the K's, and that made 1-1. So some good saves as well early on as the Komets had some chances. But what was your first takeaway after seeing the first period in Kansas City against a good team like this?
They're very good defensively. They got Marcus Crawford, who is arguably the best defenseman in the league. He was a big reason that they had that comeback at the Coliseum before the break. And he scored the big game winner in overtime on Saturday. But very sound defensively. Forwards are very skilled, but we were able to take care of that. We limited their chances. Pat LaFontaine is also a really good goaltender. I think he's only got 2 losses on the season. And I thought Friday night, I thought Kansas City outplayed us. There were stretches where the Komets were doing very, very well, but we were back on our heels. We got running around our own zone. We weren't aggressive on the back check, and it kind of cost us there. But we played well enough, obviously, to stick around. And then we got the goal late with our goaltender pulled, which is something that's been going against us lately. It actually worked.
I wanted to ask about that because it doesn't happen all the time.
Yeah. It seems like it happens against us a lot, but we did that, and we managed to to claw, and we didn't give up, and we end up losing in overtime. But hey, you fought back, you got the point, and sometimes it's just the little battles and those little wins that it's a positive.
Blake Murray with a goal late in this one to help send it into overtime. His 9th goal of the season. When you talk about Blake Murray, what really sticks out to you? Because we saw him at the end of last season. He's a guy that can score, could be a point-a-game type of guy. What really sticks out to you about his game now that we're seeing it for a 2nd season in a row?
Yeah, Blake's a playmaker. He came in with a really good resume, especially out of juniors. He was a draft pick of Carolina, and he was a wanted commodity at the end of the season. The Komets kind of won the sweepstakes. But no, he's a guy who plays both ends of the ice really well. He creates some space for himself. He's certainly not shy about being physical and going into corners. He's a great addition, and he's a guy, if you give him a little bit of room, he doesn't mind getting in front of the net, as we saw, and he'll get those greasy goals. Nothing that he really does, I would say, is pretty, but it's effective.
You sound like Gary Graham with the greasy goals. When you take a look at, I want to talk about power plays a little bit. I know we're going to see the goal in overtime from Randy, but when you take a look at power play this past week, the Komets one power play goal in 3 games, but they were 2 for 13 on the penalty kill, I believe. So what was really the key? And only those two goals were on Wednesday night. So what is it about special teams that's working for the Komets, and what is it on the power play they're going to have to kind of sharpen up going forward?
Yeah, they've had a great penalty kill all season. I think we're up to 13 straight kills on the road coming in to this weekend. And then the power play, you had that one guy. You had James Stefan. He's up in the AHL. He was doing all the damage on the power play. Odin Tufto fit into that spot for a minute, but then he went to Europe. You lose Jaden Grube, who we still don't know when he is going to be back. So it's a power play that's trying to find its identity. It hurt in that game Saturday, 0 for 5 on the power play. You also had a penalty shot by Alex Aliardi that wasn't successful. So little things like that, you kind of cringe. I think we hit the post, 3 times in that game on Saturday night. So just a bounce here and there, and you walk away with 2 points. But again, you look at the whole weekend, you're going to go into Kansas City. You probably weren't going to win them both anyway. So your best bet was going to be a split. And we kind of did. You got 2 points out of a possible 4. So again, look at the positive.
When you take a look at Friday to Saturday, you're around the team, you're there with them. What's the vibe at taking on Kansas City? Because you take that overtime loss on Friday and you get another shot at them. You mentioned, kind of taking 2 of the 4 possible points, but you have a chance to take 3 of a possible 4. What's the thought process, and what was the K's attitude going into Saturday, especially coming off Friday, knowing that, man, they could have had them on Friday night?
I think these players are evolving. I think with guys like Tyler Inamoto out of the lineup, James Stefan out of the lineup, and you can kind of go on and on and on. So guys are kind of learning to do things they don't normally do. So they're finding different facets of their game.
Wow,
so,
I think that's great for down the stretch.
It's wonderful. Like a Harrison Reese, he's shooting the puck more. He is getting more opportunities, because you need a little more production from your blue line guys. It can't all be Jalen Schmerich. So Harrison Reese, I see him getting more chances from the blue line. I'm waiting for that guy to step up on the power play to be that go-to guy on the dot. They've got they're really good passing team on the power play, but just having that guy to finish is kind of an issue. You got a guy like Brady Stonehouse who is really a grinder. He's not afraid to get into tussles. He's not afraid to get dirty.
I like some Stonehouse.
Yeah, a lot of people do. But he's a guy that can be
agitated.
Exactly, and he's a guy that needs to really kind of figure out his game, because he is, is he a goal scorer? Is he a grinder? Is he a defensive kind of player? I think he can do it all. So, guys are just kind of still learning their way on this team. I really liked the effort Saturday night. I thought we outplayed Kansas City. From top to bottom. We just didn't get that extra goal. I thought it was, we played a lot better than we did Friday night. We were just kind of wonky in stretches and back on our heels. And they got a goal in the first minute and 5 seconds of that game on Friday. And all right, we were back on our heels. We weren't ready to play. We didn't start on time. To use a coach cliche, you want to start on time, and we didn't. So that was a big thing on Saturday night, and I think we did. But just unfortunately, we just could not push that other one across the line.
Yeah, you saw Jalen Schmerich with his 5th goal of the season there early to get the K's started. And the pairing of him and Reese, what makes them go as a combination?
They got really good chemistry. Harrison Reese, I think he is a really good defenseman. He's a guy, came out of college. He had a call up with the AHL, I think 2 games. So people are noticing him. But he's a guy who's been kind of a stay-at-home defenseman. But he's a guy, I think, who's got a lot of offense in his game. And, Jalen, he's still one of the best in the business, when it comes to distributing the puck. I think he's second in the league now in scoring among defensemen, right behind Marcus Crawford. So he's a distributor, but he needs a guy who's going to finish. And that's right now the Komets. We need that guy to step up.
Okay, so this game got a little bit chippy there in the third period. You saw Nick Deacon-Poot right here getting in there, and Pooter's like 6'4", 6'5"?
He's a big dude, yeah.
Like, that would not be the first guy that I would choose to pick on. Would it be yours?
No. Pooter is, he is an imposing figure out there, and he's not a guy who I want to square up with. And, he's a guy who's kind of turned into our muscle a little bit. He's not afraid to get dirty, and, we've seen him drop the gloves. But, any more in the game, dropping the gloves is not a big thing. It's just you want to be able to go out there and lay out that big hit. You're going to grab a guy. You're going to give him a little leather in the face. And you want to have that guy out there. And that's what Deacon-Poot is. He's been great on the face-offs. Missing Odin Tufto, who was and Jaden Grube. So there's 2 centermen right out there. So Deacon-Poot has really filled in that role. And going back to that game Friday and even Wednesday, face-offs is the facet of the game that people just don't appreciate. When you are winning those face-offs and you are controlling the play, that's something that we weren't doing Friday night. That's why Kansas City was in our end an awful lot, because they were winning face-offs. Next night, we kind of flipped the script. So face-offs are so important, and getting true centerman is really a hard thing. It's almost getting like that right-handed defenseman in the middle of the season. It's really hard to find. So getting guys who are consistent on the draw, I think, is something that we really need to look forward here, because Odin Tufto is out. You're not going to get Jaden Grube back for who knows how long. So again, it comes back. Someone has got to step it up. They got to find a facet of their game that maybe they were not aware they even had. Austin McGarrah, he stepped in there. He's a guy who's now taking draws. And he's doing really well.
Mm-hmm. And you take a look, you saw Stonehouse getting into it a little bit there at the end of the third period. But this was a well-played overtime until this play right here, and you're just, with only a few seconds left into going to a shootout on the road against a team that's number 1 in their conference. You mentioned how good Crawford was, and I think you just have to tip your hat to Kansas City.
Sometimes you do have to do that, but you're also like, wow, we had 5 power plays. We had a penalty shot, so
I was going positive, Shane. I felt like I'd been too negative.
Yeah, and I try to keep it positive too. But, you just go, man, we had our chances. There's no guarantee you win in a shootout. Obviously, that's a coin toss,
True.
Really. But, you lose it. With 2.5 seconds left. We did that in Toledo about a month ago. Same thing. We took it to overtime and lost in, I think, the last 6 seconds. So, we've just had trouble closing out games and closing out periods, and it just goes back to playing 60 minutes. And if you're in the overtime, it's playing 7 minutes.
Well, okay, so without Stefan, without Grube, probably Aliardi, but what's your shootout lineup if you're the Komets at this point in the year? Like, who would you go to?
That's a good question.
I want to know, because we've had so many overtimes, but not necessarily shootouts.
Yeah, Alex Aliardi is a veteran, of course, the guy you want to put out there. I think Josh Grohl would be really good on the shootouts as well. But I think the only shootout we had was down in Florida, and that was Stefan, who scored the game-winning goal. So that's a good question. We have not gotten to that point. Obviously, a whole lot in those shootouts. And shootouts is something, you are able to practice a little bit after practice. But, it's funny, the 3-on-3s is something you don't get a lot of practice time because our schedule is crazy. We don't get a lot of 5-on-5 practice time, let alone that, because you're traveling, you have morning skate. Obviously, that's not a full practice. And maybe there's only a day or 2 during the week where you're actually able to work on things before you've got games. So when you're constantly shuffling the lineup and getting new guys in, it's really hard for them to really practice what they need to. So that's just the craziness of this league. So when you're saying they need to practice this, well, yeah, but we'd like to have time to actually do that.
When? When is the
when
question?
we should do that.
All right, so we mentioned staying positive, and one of the cool positives of last season is we turn the corner and talk about some good stuff, is how things ended up in that first round against Iowa, Game 7. Super cool. There's no better words in the sports than a hockey Game 7, and I guess you know about that firsthand. So let's take a look back. The latest episode of Mission Control has dropped, and one of the things they take a deep look at is Game 7 against Iowa, and here is a look at what you can find on the Komets YouTube page, courtesy of Mission Control.
And here we go, game number 7 here from the Coliseum. It is just the 17th Game 7 in Komets history as the Komets looking to move on here in this tournament.
There was zero doubt that we could do it. I mean, I knew we had to play well and I knew we had to execute, but I certainly felt like we were capable of doing it.
And we are underway here in this game number 7. And grabbing it is Albahrani, right side. Albahrani coming in, a shot, and he scores! We are tied. Dugan gets everyone back on side. Dugan sneaking in front, shot, score! Alex Svetlikov gives the Komets the lead. Komets in front, all alone, a shot, score! 3-1 Komets. On the empty net, now right side. Here's Petrozelli. A shot, he scores! Anthony Petrozelli with the exclamation points! How fitting! And Snoochie Moochie's Komet fans, we're going to the next round! Next up, Toledo, baby! Get your fishing license, welcome out to boat some walleye! What a performance by the Komets here in Game 7. Down 3-2 in the series. We come back and win it, as the Komets are moving on to the second round for the first time since we won the Kelly Cup back in 2021.
Seems just like yesterday, doesn't it, Shane?
Yeah.
Did I hear a Jay and Silent Bob reference?
Yeah, I think Kevin Smith and Jason Mewes might owe me some money for that one.
There you go. There you go. Or maybe you owe them some money. I'm not sure. I'm not sure how the rights work. I'm not that Hollywood. But obviously that was a great moment from last season. Hopefully some great moments this coming week. Let's take a look at the schedule of what is coming up for the Fort Wayne Komets. Friday, Cincinnati comes to the Jungle. That's a 7:30 start at the Coliseum. Saturday at Toledo, and then Sunday the Fish back in the Fort, 5 o'clock Sunday for that start. And when you take a look at this schedule, I mean, this is Cincinnati. This is a Cincinnati team that is, fighting for a playoff spot at this point of the season, if we can already look forward to that. But when you look at the standings, that's where they are, looking to get in. And then you take a look at Toledo is obviously Toledo. So could be a big weekend for the Komets against some really good competition and some teams that Toledo got that first place now, and they don't want to leave there.
Yeah, it's crazy how they're able to do that. It seems like every year they're able to turn the corner. They're a team that always kind of has a choppy start. They start off kind of slow, and then they just hit their groove, and it's off. So they can't. I think they've lost. I think they've won 9 out of the last 10. I think now. So So this is what they do. They're on the upswing. They're going to catch teams on the downswing, which right now we are. But a whole week, a lot can change. Cincinnati, they're having goaltending problems. They're they don't have. I mean, they really need some help. There at the goal line, they gave up 7 to Toledo last weekend, and so the Komets will need to take advantage of that problem that they are having. And then you've got home and home with Toledo, and depending on what happens Friday, first place could be on the line, rolling around Sunday. So it's going to be a big weekend. Again, I was really happy with the way we played on Saturday, and I think we'll take that momentum into the weekend.
All right, you mentioned Sunday. It is report card night out at the Coliseum on Sunday. If you have an A on your report card, you get in for free. That is good stuff if you're a Komets fan and if you're a good student. How many A's did Shane Albahrani get back in the day? What was his favorite subject as a student?
I'm a total slacker. I would have been able to get into those games.
You have to pay full price.
I'm paying full price. But also now to add to that, Goodwill is going to be there.
Okay.
And they're going to have their bin set up. So if you bring a donation to Goodwill, we're going to give you another free ticket. So to a future Komet game. So It is win-win-win on Sunday. Hopefully win-win-win, meaning the third win is the Komets beating Toledo.
Wouldn't we like to see that?
Yeah, that'd be great. But
That'd be a great way to end the weekend.
No, since we had the work stoppage there, we're trying to get back on track with the promotions. And Sunday is a big day, report card night, which is always popular. And then, of course, Goodwill, first 500 fans who bring a donation, we're going to get you a free ticket to a future Comet game. So no reason not to come out Sunday.
All right, 2 out of the 3 games this weekend are at home. That is Friday against Cincinnati, on the road against Toledo on Saturday, and then back home for report card night and Goodwill night at the Coliseum on Sunday. That's a 5 o'clock start on Sunday, so definitely you want to make it out to see the Komets as hockey is back in the fort. We're not talking about strikes. We won't even have to mention that next week on the show because it's that far in the past. But for this week, he's Shane Albahrani, I'm Glenn Marini, and that is your latest edition of Komets Corner, brought to you as always by Lee's Famous Recipe.
You're watching Komets Corner.